Hey, it's Terry, your favorite no bullshit artist and business coach, and you're listening to Terry Talks, where we discuss all things taboo, uncovering art industry nonsense, grounding you in confidence and leadership to run an arts business with unwavering power and grit. Hello, and welcome back to Between the Two of Us, a series spinoff of Terry Talks, where I bring to you all of the best, most honest experts in the art industry, some not directly connected to the art industry, but work with creatives and have been helping us navigate the business savvy life for quite some time. So today I have a special guest. We've got a lawyer. We've got a lawyer amongst us, people. And Chandler is the founder of Lethal Legal, a virtual intellectual property law firm. She's a fucking powerhouse. I met Chandler when we were both in a coaching program together, and we were the only two who had tattoos, and that was like a moment of connection. She helps entrepreneurs get rights to their brands and protect their pockets so they can keep more money. So she fights the fight every single day. She helps protect women in small businesses and big businesses. She trademarks constantly, and we're just celebrating the shit out of her right now. So let's let her in, because we're going to talk a lot about negotiating today. What's up? Are you
Hello.
nervous? Hi. So I just shared that we met each other in a coaching program many moons ago.
Yep.
And the first thing I noticed was your tattoos. And I was like, oh, she's the only group with tattoos. Maybe she's not square. Um, Psych. So so today we're going to talk about negotiating and my sort of perspective on negotiating in the art scene is that oftentimes we give galleries way too much power. We give the people who are asking us to apply to things way too much power. Artists are sitting on their asses and we're waiting on an acceptance or a rejection from X, Y, and Z, whether it's a residency, a grant, a proposal. And we are just like literally waiting at their doorsteps for some form of acceptance. And that's really fucking bothers me, because I'm the type of person that I advocate for myself pretty much every single day, from the grocery store to the bank. And I don't know if that's like being like New York City savvy or what, but I think that there definitely comes with, that sort of business savvy, gritty leadership self when it comes to when you open your mouth and when you don't. Not everyone is like you and I, where we're gonna question something. We might challenge something once in a while. So you just did this whole negotiation deal November.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about you and like what kind of fun you just had and all the good stuff.
Absolutely. So I run a virtual intellectual property law firm. And one thing that I do is, because I don't run a lot of sales, I have the firm services, and I also have digital resources and products that are all DIY. So it's DIY legal. It serves as an affordable and accessible alternative compared to hiring a lawyer every single time. And so every November, I host what's called Negotiate November. And during that month, for a 3-day period, I will host the Let's Make a Deal sale. So during that 72-hour window, people have the opportunity to negotiate with me and ask for what they want and utilize all the skills that I have been teaching them throughout the month on me. And it really gives people a safe place to practice not only asking for what you want, but also negotiating and trying out different, strategies and things like that in a place where there isn't going to be any judgment and you're only going to be able to improve.
I mean, you're inviting people to challenge the shit out of you. Let's
Yeah.
just put it that way. You're like, fuck me up. Let's go. Let's rumble. And I love that because, I wonder, and I don't know what kinds of people were in your DMs for those couple of days, but, I wonder like if, some of them were first timers who've maybe opened their mouth and like, yeah, like introverts or like, let me try it. Fuck it.
100%. And there were even people who were like, every year This comes and this goes, and I always want to, but I don't. And
Yeah.
I'm always encouraging. I'm like, let this be the year that you do. I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to guide you through it. You're not negotiating alone. Like I give you the tips to get what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so it's one of those things where you just have to put yourself out there and ask. But some people, even if they're like, I want to, they still don't. So maybe next year they will. But
Yeah. What do you think it is about self-advocacy and negotiating? I mean, I'd like to think like I think part of it obviously is like an innate wanting to question things. Like I'm a Sag. I question everything. Like I just like I'm always like there's no rules. No rules exist. Anarchy. Like whatever the fuck I want to do, I want to do. But that's not always the case when you feel like there is a position in power, even if you're like working under someone, right? A boss. And they're like, "No, you need to get here an hour earlier and I'm not paying you." There are a lot of people who are going to be like, "All right." And then
yeah,
there's the outlier, Terry, who's
right.
going to be like, "Fuck no. Overtime."
Right. I mean, the fear of rejection, right?
Yeah.
That is so strong, especially in our society. No one wants to get rejected. That's in business, that's in relationships, friendships,
Yes.
family, no matter what it is. And so you kind of have to get over the fear of being potentially rejected because the if you don't ask, the answer will literally always be
Yeah.
no. And what's the worst that can happen? You get a no. Okay, then you're in the same exact position you currently are. So nothing has changed. Literally nothing has changed. The status quo. The worst case scenario is that nothing changes.
I usually ask later. I do now and I ask later. But that's not always obviously the most legal and the best way to go. But I think that, I guess, I can only speak from experience is that I don't always need to think about their answer. I guess like I usually am more concerned about what I want to get
Yeah.
out of it than like what and my outcome and my desires and what's going to benefit me than like what's about to come out of their mouth. I don't even
Well,
I think about that.
and to get what you want, one of the best ways to get what you want is to care about what the other person wants,
Right.
right? Because it's you don't want to worry about what that's going to come out of their mouth necessarily, but what's going to come out of their mouth can be greatly influenced by what comes out of your mouth. And what comes out of your mouth, if it recognizes
Yeah.
what they want, what they desire, that can really help you and you can leverage their wants, their desires, their needs to really get what you want. Because if you're giving them something that they want or something that's going to benefit them, make it a no-brainer, right?
Right. So if I'm a gallerist, I'm top notch, and I'm somebody who has been scouting out artists, but and then I'm the artist that has been like dying to be in this gallery. I've got like this a little bit of like jealousy, envy, like I need to be in there. I should be in there. They give you a contract. It has all this shit in it. And at what point can you start to have these, I guess, just to most people, difficult conversations? How to navigate those conversations once you start to get into that business relationship? Like it's no more kiki. It's more like, okay, we've got a solid relationship. We think that this show might happen. Let's start to get down to the nitty gritty of like how long and what the split is going to be and what the commissions are and all that stuff. Like what can you say to an artist that's about to get themselves into a business relationship?
Number one, advocate for yourself, right? You have to be willing to advocate for yourself. If you are not willing to advocate for yourself, then why are you in business? Like you can't be in business if you're not willing to do that. You're in business to make money at the end of the
Yep.
day, right? Like what you do, you have to make money to survive. And people recognize that, right? So, for example, I mean, when you're negotiating, it depends. You think of what does the gallery want, and then what do you want? What do you value most in that? And it depends on what position you're in. At that point in time, you could be like, I'm okay with taking a little less money for more visibility. Or you have visibility and you're like, I don't care as much about that. I want more money, right? So you have to understand what you value most in
Yes.
time and in that period, and then understand what the gallery values and then leverage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've had artists come to me on so many different um, with so many different stories about, and some really great. The partnership is amazing, so in sync, so aligned, everyone's with the shits. And then I've had other artists come to me and saying, I've been locked into this, exclusivity contract for the next year. They haven't been showing up for me. They haven't been selling my work. It's sitting stale. It's growing dust in the gallery. And I'm like, I can't sell it anywhere else. Um, how would you maybe approach that kind of a conversation where it's a muddy area. You've done it to yourself. Listen, you fucking signed the contract, right? And now you're halfway through and you're like, okay, well, like where can I leverage maybe some negotiation skills at this point where shit's not moving, it's not aligned, it's not working the way that you thought.
I would just that's when you got to reach out and you got to have an honest conversation, right? Because if you sign the point that you want to negotiate is prior to signing the contract.
Right.
You want to negotiate prior to signing the contract. If this contract's already signed, you are in a very humble position, and that's where you need to approach them and say, "Hey, here's the deal. This stuff isn't moving. What can we do to either make this stuff move, or is there a way that I can take this and I can put it in a different gallery. Maybe it'll sell there, but I'm willing to provide you guys with a different piece and some other thing, right? But I mean, you want to negotiate prior to signing the contract, not after.
Yeah, and that's a great, I think even that's a great idea, is like making sure that the gallery is kind of like set and it has and still can you're still abiding by whatever terms you signed off on, but like, yeah, swapping out some different artwork maybe. Possibly if depending on your relationship, maybe renegotiating some of the terms. Maybe it's not 2 years, maybe it's 1 year, and then we, see. But yes, negotiating maybe a trial period before you even sign instead of this like lengthy situation. um Depending on, again, what your relationship is and what your goals are of being in that gallery and being in that relationship. Because the worst thing is to like have your shit be stagnant somewhere where it could be selling and moving, right? And I see this time and time again where artists are either signing contracts or not, or there are no contracts, and it's all just fucking fully blurry. And like, so can you tell me a couple of things that you've seen? I hate to like say be like horror stories, but like, because we're not in like Halloween, but like things that you've seen without contracts, like where do people like, I guess, like the loopholes and like the kind of the stretching of people, and like these conversations can get kind of hostile. They don't have to, you know what I mean? But without a contract, where can people, I mean, first
Well,
and foremost, have a fucking contract. I know you're like, oh my God.
I mean, because that's so broad. It's so hard to answer that question about
Yes.
because there's so many different areas of liability if you don't have a contract. But
Yeah.
if you are, for example, let's just talk about like the scope of whatever it is. How many pieces of art are you providing
Right.
them, right? What is your cut? What is your percentage? What is their percentage? What if none of these things are laid out, you could get screwed out of money. Your stuff could never even be showed. It could be in a back room the whole time. You really don't know if these things aren't laid out very clearly in an agreement.
You're not there day to day. I mean, that's like the situation. This is their space. Then you're, to me, you are empowering them to kind of run the show. And I think that that's where the self advocacy part and the leadership part comes in. You're like, no, 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 no. Actually, without my work, your walls, you wouldn't have a gallery.
Right.
Like,
And if you don't have an agreement, you don't have a right of recourse, right? So that's another reason why you want an agreement, because then you're going to have some type of solution. Not only do you have something to look back at that says, hey, here are our terms, but you're also going to have a right of recourse to where there's something you can actually do about it if they are not following those terms of that agreement.
right. Yeah, I mean, I think that these are all like amazing points, and some of them, if you're listening, like, whether you're watching us on YouTube or you're listening on Spotify, I think like just really thinking about like what your goals are well before you walk into anyone's office is probably the most empowering thing you could do for yourself before even thinking of the self advocacy part, right? The gallery wants your commission. The gallery needs your art in their walls. The gallery needs people to walk into the space and buy something. I mean, there's so much that you are bringing to the table, and I think sometimes artists minimize, not the artwork, but like just in general, their part or their role
Right.
in the relationship itself. No, it doesn't have to go sour, but it's also okay for you to come a little bit stronger when shit is not going the way it should be. Contract or no contract, right? I'm contract girl, 100 through and through. I've seen artists recently. There was a post yesterday of an artwork that was stolen from a gallery. No contract.
Yep.
Who's going to pay for that?
Who's liable? Exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean, she's shit out of luck. Not only can that not be sold anymore, but now it's like in the abyss. No one fucking knows.
Right.
So I think that those are, we don't often think though, that's not gonna happen to me, or like I know this person is my friend, or guys, when it comes to business, like, sorry, not sorry, you don't have friends. Like, it doesn't fucking work that way. People want what they want. Everyone has their agenda, and you just like pray that your agendas align. But I think that the way to align those even tighter, which is why what brought Chandler on today, is to make those things, legally committed and binded. For so many reasons that you had mentioned, because you don't know what's going to pop up, um and it's going to be something that you probably least expected. I've had shit go down where I've had to pay penalties because I wanted to sever ties, but there are things in place when that happens. um so do you have any I hate to use the word like, I want to make sure artists know that they should be using contracts up the ass. Is there any last minute strong words from Chandler from Lethal Legal that
Well,
you could say to fucking get him in? Yeah, to do it. Guys, do it.
they're proactive, right? So the contracts are not something, they're not a reactive thing.
Right.
Handling the legal side of your business is not a, oh shit, I got a DUI and now I have to call a lawyer because I'm in jail. This is a, we're keeping you out of jail situation, right?
Love
So a
that.
lot of people don't realize they have the need until they're in one of those oh shit scenarios. And unfortunately, sometimes those oh shit scenarios are not only not resolvable, but they will end up costing you 10 times more than they would had you just laid the legwork for the legal side of your business from the very beginning.
Now, the first contract I ever bought was from your templates, and I still have that. And I
Love it.
still use it. And I've used it in two different ways. The one I bought was just for like one on one private coaching. And then I recently used it for like a VIP day. Same thing, one-on-one private coaching terms, right? And I mean, as I've grown and evolved and like my professional development, like I know what my boundaries are. I've been able to like tweak those little things. And but that like is what I felt so empowered and protected once I got that. It almost minimized half of the conversations that I would have with people because there were no caveats. It was sort of just like, here are the things, take a
This
look.
is, yep.
I'm gonna highlight these things because
And
I'm gonna sure.
the
And
other,
I've added things to it that now I'm like, no, you can't do this actually.
yep.
No, you don't get 20, you don't get to be 20 minutes late and then we don't tack on 20 minutes. Like that's not, you know?
The other thing is that when it comes to contracts, one of the best piece of advice I could give when you're using them is to blame it on the contract. So many people in business, especially if you're working with friends or working with people you like, it can feel like, oh no, this is my boundary, but I'm going to let them cross it because I don't want to hurt their feelings, or I don't want to step on toes. I don't want to muddy the waters, right? But when you have a contract in place, you're not doing any of that because you are equally bound by the contract. You also signed that contract. So having a contract in place takes the personal nature out of it. And you can so easily just say, hey, look, so sorry, but the contract we both signed says this. So unfortunately, like we're gonna have to follow these terms.
That's could not have been said better. I'm like, "Yeah, you can go and speak to Miss Contract. I mean, you can talk to her.
Right.
Might not
Right.
be available, but you can talk you can talk to her." Yeah, I think that's a really fair point because it does yeah, it's taken me out of some awkward moments where I definitely used my contract to help empower the situation for sure. Now that I'm thinking back on it, I'm like, yeah, like it was actually that simple. It didn't need to be a back and forth emotional conversation because I had that there for me.
Right.
Um, but yeah, guys, it is meant to protect you. It's not meant, and it does not have to be an as expensive process. So, Chandler, how do we get a contract? If we're first timers, we've never even thought about it, and after today's episode, they're like, "Yep, I need to go get something, but I can't afford a lawyer."
Absolutely. So there's resources available. I have a template shop at shoplethalegal.com, which offers a bunch of different contract templates, legal resources to DIY the legal side of your business. And the thing I always tell people is if there's something that you're in need of and you don't see it on there, let me know because I'm more than happy to constantly create new templates and add them because if it's going to serve you, it's going to serve someone else.
Yes. Yeah, and the ones that I can think of at the top of my head, would be like for commissions. That's like a major, major, major to me. Like there's so many red flags that happen in the commission process. A lot of boundaries broken and just like bad blood that happens if you don't have certain things in place for commissions. So that's definitely number one. If you do that, if you have that as part of your arts business, definitely you want to make sure that you have very, very strict terms for edits and for going back and forth and for how long, the whole process is going to take. Um, and whether it's aligned with what you provide or not. I mean, I'm a mixed media artist. I don't design tattoos, but someone could come to me and ask me to draw a tattoo, and that's like not a commission I would take on. So just like be wary. I mean, I talk about commissions a lot because I do think that it's a really very tricky. It takes a lot of patience to do something like that. Um, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I wanted to do like a little mini, kind of like talk about this legal negotiation, business savvy, these antics. Um, but I'm hoping that after today's episode that it resonates to not only that self advocacy is empowerment, but that negotiating and having strict terms and having things kind of laid out in a more black and white way will help you to navigate these conversations.
So we'll see.
Thank you so much, Chandler. And I will make sure to link everything below. I will make sure that everybody knows where to find Chandler and all of her amazing templates. And thank you so much, Chandler, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, guys.